Hey guys, this is Iron Rip Bison. You're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
And coming up in the weeks following, we got Mordor and Miko Maestro. So stay tuned for those as well every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox. Now that we're done putting ourselves over, it was a great day for wrestling, depending on who you asked. Um, let's start with some AEW content because we're going to be WWE heavy for the rest of the night. Brian Kendricks was supposed to make his AEW debut. However, some interesting comments he made about the Holocaust, 9/11, and a couple other, and the JFK assassination resurfaced and prompted Tony Khan to pull him. Right now by AEW kind of saving their ass when, they're supposed to be a safe space for wrestling. No, Kaliko?
Well, they're supposed to be the quote unquote all inclusive wrestling company. So, grand opening, grand closing for Brian Kendrick. Man, it's weird. I mean, it, I get why they did it. It's just that, like, we get into this point where people's opinions of things are kind of killing people's jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it. I get it that you may not agree with it, and no one's saying and that's not speaking from a place of condoning, right? It's just speaking from a place of where is the line,
Right.
and that's the key. What's the end? What's the line? What's the border? Where's the do not tap it here? Do not step to here line where it's all off, because it seems like everything is all off. We're getting people for people in the past. We're getting people in the present. We're getting people for stuff they might do, and it's like, granted, we want everybody to be a good citizen. But we also have to be. I mean, we're a country where people can marry cereal. I mean, come on. So,
Who do you know that's marrying cereal?
you never heard of that? There was an article where a dude liked cereal so much he married it. And same with men and cars. There's this thing where men marry, but that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. But it's just like, I get it, but I get why they did it. It's just like, I just need to know the line so that way I know not to cross it, right?
Right. Speaking of marrying cereal, Scooter Dust has joined us.
What about marrying cereal?
Yeah. No context there. Brian Kendricks, getting pulled from an AEW for some comments he made. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I didn't know there were more than one Brian Kendrick. um, Brian Kendrick getting pulled. Honestly, I chalk it up to karma. He was petitioning to get his release, only for his big ass mouth to come back and bite him on said ass. And now he got no job.
Anywhere.
So, here's to you, Brian. I'll send along an application for food stamps.
Maybe we could get a Brian Kendrick Whoopi Goldberg match out of this. A match we never knew we never wanted.
We honestly probably. I mean, yeah. I mean, you said Whoopi Goldberg for a reason, didn't you, James?
Because they both made comments about the Holocaust.
Oh, don't get it wrong. Whoopi Goldberg can fight for real, for real.
I have no doubt about that. Don't put all your money on Brian
Well,
Kendrick.
uh-huh.
Somebody you maybe should have put money on, MJF. He gave CM Punk his first loss in AEW on Wednesday. Um, I like the ending with Warlow, doing the bait and switch. I just felt the match was way too long. What are your thoughts, Scooter?
the I I mean, when the main event started at 9:15, you knew they were going to go at least a half hour, and the dusty finish with Bryce Runsberg noticing the chain. I think was a sheer move of booking brilliance, only for it to be immediately counteracted by the illogical move of having Wardlow reaffirm his alliance to MJF. That was not where this story was going. And, you know, kudos to Punk for doing what was the right thing and agreeing to go over, to let MJF go over. Because
Especially in Chicago.
especially in Chicago, because that's fucking huge. But the fact that after all that, we saw Wardlow getting, you know, berated for weeks and weeks, only for it to, and it was happening before Punk even arrived,
Right.
and it just, it had the potential to really set Wardlow apart from MJF and really make that, God, what I would think would be the probably the only hmm, like third or fourth feud since the company's existence that has been between two stars that were AEW originals.
Right, true. But I kind of there's two things to that to Warlow realigning himself with MJF. The first one is you know it's going to happen inevitably, but either they don't feel that Warlow is ready to come to be separated from MJF for whatever reason. May that be, of in-ring ability or having anything for him after an MJF rivalry. Um, and I don't feel that this would be the right place to do the final turn for Warlow. The final turn should be at Revolution because if he's in that ladder match and he wins, I really don't feel like he's giving MJF no title match. You know what I mean?
That's true, I suppose.
Kaliko, you're a MJF denier. What are your thoughts on the match? And did it help MJF in any way?
It helped them in the micro, but it won't help them in the macro. My issue with MJF is eventually with the exception of maybe one or two feuds, every other feud he's never really gotten the best of, right? So,
I mean, he got the better of Brian. What is his name? Brian.
Cage? Yeah.
No, Brian Pillman Jr.
okay, yeah, because we just really are so emotionally invested in Brian Pillman Jr. Like, I think the only person I think the only person he got over on was Dusty, right?
Darby.
I mean Cody. That's the only person I can think he actually won a feud over, other than like for the ring, right?
It was Darby as well.
He got over on Darby. Is he a bigger star than Darby right now?
No.
Yeah. Oh, I'd say yes.
Really? Because I feel like that Punk. I feel like the Punk MJF feud was mad. It started off tight, but it depended too much on the mic, right?
I would agree to that too.
And that's the problem, because when it depends on the mic, if the dude could wrestle, you wouldn't depend on the mic that fucking much. That's my point, right?
Right.
Like,
And then
no offense
match.
to him. Yeah, no offense to him, but if he was that tight in the ring, they would have been having a match, right?
But then you have to look at it from the other side of that coin, in that he could go in the ring all this time, but the fact that he did not fit the typical stature, it meant he had to depend on his mic skills to get him noticed.
While I get that, but eventually, I'm trying to figure out, is he a chicken shit heel, or is he a tweener between chicken shit and dominant? Or, because the problem is that he talks so much. Me as a guy, I can't believe in him to be believable because I don't see him doing anything about it, right? Like there are certain, like Brock, right? Don't talk, but I know he about that action, and I know when he talk, it's a fucking rap because he about to do some shit, right?
Right.
I don't get that with MJF. Now, granted, that may be not the thing he's going for, because I just feel like he's like the shit talker that when it's time to fight, he's like, oh shit, I ain't about, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I guess that's a way to get people to buy in to want him to get his ass kicked even more. But I feel like that has an expiration date, right? Because eventually you're going to talk so much to the point that no one's going to believe you.
I mean, and most of his rivalries at this point have been copy and paste. Whether it be the Crucible with Cody or the Hercules thing with Chris Jericho. He did the same thing with Punk. It's kind of like, copying everything that he does, and his rivalries are basically copy and paste.
Exactly. And I'm going to ask Scooter this. Scooter, is MJF more popular now than when he had that feud with Mox?
Yes.
I don't think so.
He might be a little bit more popular now because he had, a better dancing partner with CM Punk, or a more notable dancing partner.
He had a better storytelling partner.
Yes. And, the story with Punk and MJF was pretty good, it just felt like it fizzled kind of at the end, where the match didn't have as much build up as it should be at when it came to it. It was
And that's true. That's true. But I just think like, okay, MJF got the win. Are people really invested in Punk getting the revenge? And that's the key, right?
yeah,
Because prime example, Sammy Guevara and Cody, people were invested in Sammy getting the belt back.
that one
Uh,
came
I
out of
can't say the
nowhere.
same for Punk. I can't say the
I
same for Punk.
I think I think it's actually going to lead to a Revolution rematch, and I think it's going to be. I would say probably something along the lines of either an I Quit match or a towel match,
Hmm, might be something.
where Wardlow is in MJF's corner, and who knows, could be in CM Punk's corner. It could be Keith Lee for all we know.
The only person I would believe in that is Colt Cabana.
Which would probably be get a hella huge pop.
Yes,
It
and
would.
that's my point. Unless it's going to go somewhere else to where Colt Cabana makes it seem like that's going to happen, and Colt Cabana fucks him over for
That's what
fucking
I
him
was
over in
thinking.
real life. I doubt it's going to happen, but
Now,
you know.
I mean, the possibility that could lead up to that and a double turn.
No, absolutely not. But let me ask you this, Kaliko. Do you believe that MGF going 45 minutes with CM Punk, did that kind of take away from your enthusiasm of the match, or did it kind of okay, this guy can go? Because honestly, I thought it was way too long of a match for these two guys to have. They could have did 20 and go home happy.
Well, that's the point. It felt like the match was long, and just because of the fact that they've been talking on the mic for fucking 5 months. It felt like. So I mean, it felt like it was a compensation for that, right? A compensation for all the talking, so they got to get to the action, right? But if they had a mix the talking and the action, I think that 20 minutes would have been a sweet spot.
Right.
Because if that's the first match and it went 35 minutes, how long is the second match?
Right. All right. Let's get on to another subject. Um, the Hall of Fame will take place after SmackDown on Friday, in the lead up to WrestleMania Saturday.
So it'll
It's
take place on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, and there's no separate ticket. If you bought a ticket for SmackDown, you're going to be at the Hall of Fame as well. First and foremost, how are they going to do that? Have people there for that long? And number two, is this kind of devaluing the Hall of Fame, or was the Hall of Fame kind of devalued in the last like 3-4 years anyway?
I I I have the solution for that, and it's a 3 hour Hall of Fame themed SmackDown.
Hmm, that's interesting.
And the inductions take place. Some of the inductions take place during the show, and then you get the major ones after. So you get you know wherever you want, and maybe one big one on TV, and then you get an hour of inductions in the arena. So the fans go home happy. They're only there for 4 hours, and boom.
That's
But
not a bad idea. But what are your thoughts on the the Hall of Fame being on the same night as SmackDown in the same arena at the same time, Kaliko.
They better have one hell of a class to fucking make that work.
Well, I I mean, I think it's now kind of obvious who's leading the class.
It better be Taker.
Yep.
It's gonna be Taker.
I mean, it should be
Because the
Taker.
only
It
way
makes
you can
sense.
get people to stay after the fact is if Taker goes in, and that they could draw that to the end because it'd be crazy to hear Undertaker talking his regular Patrick Mahomes voice. So I mean, yeah,
Do you feel like the last couple of years, the Hall of Fame has kind of been devalued? That it's not as important as it was years prior, more or less because McMahon wants it to be as choreographed as possible when you have, people that haven't been in the business for quite some time. Scooter.
Hmm. Oh man. Hmm. You know, that. Hmm. I honestly, I'm at a loss for words.
All right. What about you, Kaliko?
I think the 2 night schedule fucked it up because they usually would,
Hmm.
the 2 night schedule fucked it up. Because it overbooked it. So at the behest of having 2 nights and appeasing the fans, the one thing that most of the fans kind of don't care about, was the Hall of Fame, because the Hall of Fame was always based on the class, right? No one really cared about the Hall of Fame itself. They cared about the class. So if it wasn't the right class, it wasn't going to be going anywhere. And I would have thought they did it on Thursday, considering that most people are going to be in town Wednesday to Thursday anyway. Uh,
I
because
hmm.
I mean, considering the fact that you're going to have, and plus, I guess they're trying to keep people from going to other shows because there are going to be other shows, ROH, GCW, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
So it's kind of an incentive to keep the people that are there. Plus, it's downtown Dallas. I, being in downtown Dallas and knowing that city shuts down at midnight, it's going to be hard to keep people there. Hard, unless it's Taker.
I get that.
Now the other thing that I think we might be overlooking is that whoever whoever is in attendance at that SmackDown most likely already has a ticket for Mania. And I would not be surprised if this was an attempt to target those who don't have tickets for Mania. And there would be some sort of incentive for staying. Like, say, a ticket to the first night.
Do you think they're going to give tickets away at SmackDown for Mania?
Oh, they'll have to give tickets away regardless. And that's usually always the case. A lot of tickets are given,
I mean, depending
not
on who's on
purchased.
the marquee, it usually sells out.
Mm,
Name value
okay,
alone of WrestleMania, I felt anyway.
but then, okay, a sellout. Okay, does that mean every seat is sold?
With WWE, it could be 50-50.
I mean, they could have a set number of tickets they want to sell them all, and then claim, oh, it's a sellout.
And as we know, that's the arena they're going is 100,000 plus. And I mean, if The Rock was in that show, yeah, probably would sell out. But Lesnar and Reigns, and we'll get to that when we get there. Uh, I don't see Lesnar Reigns Dream selling it out. You know what I mean?
I can.
I
Lesnar, I can because it's not about Lesnar Reigns. It's about WrestleMania itself, and and it's a different view when you see 100,000 in there, homie. Like it, it, and when it was one nighters, when it felt like it was so long, it being there and seeing all those seats filled is a fucking illusion. It's a totally different thing because the only thing that can actually draw 100,000 people is like college games, college football games. So when you see that seat, it's just like the illusion of it. And I could see them doing that, but I think the drawback is I would see people being incentivized who have packages to do that. I don't know about the common person who's coming in, and because most of the people, whoever's traveling in, is more than likely they got a ticket, unless they plan on getting a ticket at the door, which is always the case. There's always going to be an ability to get the ticket right when you get there. So Scooter's not out of the realm speaking on that part.
All right. It's reported that Baylay, Asuka, and Lacey Evans are reportedly ready to come back. Uh, Obviously, Baylay no showed Royal Rumble. Well, she wasn't scheduled, but you know. And Asuka was also there, but was deemed not ready to come back. Um, and Lacey Evans, we haven't seen her for quite some time. And the whole, women's roster right now and what they're doing, is it the right time to bring back all three of these girls? Considering, Becky has Ronda and they're doing that. And we're kind of figuring out what Charlotte's doing for Mania.
yeah, it's gonna be
Is
Charlotte.
it a guarantee that Becky is Ronda? Because
Yeah, actually, yeah, because as of last night, guess what? It's Ronda and Charlotte.
Oh, it's
and I kind of figured that because they were the final two, and we'll get to that as we go there. Uh,
okay. I was not expecting that. But isn't
but
Ronda and Becky the bigger match?
Ronda Becky is the story. That's the problem. The problem isn't that Charlotte and Ronda's not bad. The problem is that Becky and Ronda was the story. It's always been that story since 2018, and that's a story that never got filled. Charlotte was just thrown in the mix as a because she's a flair and drawing power as far as wrestling capabilities, and she's mainstream too. Like we kind of forget Becky has a cult following, so no matter what, they're gonna fucking follow her. Charlotte is pretty much like the lineage, the look, the big match field. All she basically fucking she's the best of this generation. Sorry, Sasha, but she is the bar when it comes to it, and it makes sense. It makes sense that it would be that, but it doesn't make story sense, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
All of the sense, and I need $1 for all these cents.
So what is if we do find Bayley, Asuka, and Lacey in coming back before Mania? Where do they fit?
I think it would be an after Mania.
Yeah, Yeah, if that's the after Mania return.
Because, and I'm just gonna put it like this: Bayley and Asuka are already established. Look out for
Oh,
Lacey, man.
oh,
She's coming hungry.
oh God, I can't. Yeah, that's right. On Raw, they were pushing. I mean, they're doing Becky and Lita at Elimination Chamber.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually, there's an opening there if they capitalize it. If they capitalize on it.
I was
But my
thinking they
question
should
is,
have Bayley and Becky at Mania.
That's the thing.
why? That's the question. Why?
Because it's the
Honestly, Asuka Becky makes more sense than all of them.
Because Bayley and Becky has not happened.
right.
Bayley and Becky's never happened. Yeah.
It's the one remaining match between the four horsewomen.
True, but if you're bringing Bailey back, are you just immediately thrusting? I mean, she has that she has that right, but would you immediately put her in a Mania match to where you know she's gonna lose?
Oh yeah, 100%. Billy has been more of a reliable source for WWE in the past 5 years than even Charlotte and Becky is at this point.
But my problem is that match, I feel Bailey coming back. That's a cult match. Who's gonna follow? Who is the crowd gonna follow? That's what I'm thinking. Because Becky's always been cultish. It's just is. Bailey Bailey was cultish too. So it's a who the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it'd be confusing as shit to the crowd because you want to know who to cheer and who to boo.
I just want 100,000 people just singing, "Hey, hey, Bayley."
Oh my god, the last time I heard that happen
It's the UK.
in the UK,
Yeah.
but it happened at Takeover Dallas before she got choked out by Asuka.
Oh, that was pretty. Wow, that was a long time ago. Um, Somebody that won't be main eventing WrestleMania this year, Big E. It seems like he's been demoted back to tag team star with Kofi Kingston. Um, he had a lackluster appearance in the Rumble. Was this just a failed experiment, or are they ever going to see Big E as not the New Day guy?
Failed experiment because, and I hate to say that, because Biggie was more exciting in the chase. But what do we always say? The chase is always different than the reign,
Right.
and and part of it is that Biggie. I would say this: Biggie did his best as far as trying to expand it on the African American side, per se. I think Biggie just didn't have enough dance partners to pull it out of him. Because when you think of his reign, other than him beating Lashley, who else?
Right.
And yeah, you
Austin
could say
Theory. Of course, Austin. How could I forget Austin
yeah,
Theory?
Austin Theory. Yeah, Austin Theory. So that's what I'm saying. Like they didn't give him the opportunity to have those dance partners. I think if he had a match with Seth, a match with a KO, a match. I mean, he had a match with Lashley,
It was very
but
convoluted.
right. The timing of it was all off anyway.
Right.
Because if they were going to go with this the whole time, wouldn't it make sense to keep Lashley as the champion? But that's a whole a whole other can of worms.
Scooter, is Is there a stigma on Big E that he can only be that New Day guy?
Hmm. You know, did they? You gotta ask, did they wait too long to have him win Money in the Bank? You know, uh, because quite honestly, as soon as the New Day separated because of the draft, that's when the push for Big E should have began.
I think there was
Because
some issues that prevented it from starting
Now they
completely.
no, they tried it because remember when they separated, he became the IC champ, and and there and that's where it lies because the chase was better than the chip. Biggie the chase is a good thing. Biggie the champ wasn't as great because I could say with his IC title reign, who did he? Who was the hurdle that made him dig deep?
but you know that
He had that African drum match with Apollo
oh,
Crews.
yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah, yeah. Biggie is basically the Miz at this point.
Wow.
But that's not bad. The Miz is a hustler.
In that you could probably now hotshot the title onto him.
And nobody would bat an eye at it. But
Yeah,
unless it's a break glass in case of emergency moment, that's not happening.
I think Big E, if they had, honestly, Big E in NXT, he could have, if you had saw him in NXT, you would have been like, yeah, he's a fucking future champ. And I don't know why, because when he came on as a security dude, and he never really got to show that personality off the rip. And they took the
well,
New Day.
I mean, he always did that Howard Cosell impression.
True, but when he used to come out with the clap, man, that shit was fire. Like the powder and all that. Boy, he was like, damn, he about to fuck some shit up. But it, I,
I mean,
I'm,
I guess he's haunted by the ghost of King Kong Bundy.
Wow.
That's what happens when you ask for a 5 count.
that is true.
Alright. Some Ring of Honor news. They announced a new Hall of Fame. And the first two inductees, the Briscoe Brothers. Um, Appropriate? Right, guys?
You know,
Wouldn't it have been better in Orlando?
it's those are good. It's gonna be that's gonna be a small Hall of Fame for a long time.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, who's been in that company? So, I mean,
And with the rumors that the Briscoe brothers could be WWE bound.
I didn't hear that. And would they? Well, that's a lot to unload. Would the Briscoes even work in WWE? I would hope so.
Only if they keep that gimmick.
Yeah.
I can't see them.
Yeah, but the WWE is never gonna let another team with the name Briscoe.
Very true.
True, they'll probably be like the bitch hoes or something like that. I
I
don't
would be I wouldn't be surprised if they do happen to end up in WWE. They get renamed the Patterson Brothers.
Oh God.
Well, we know it ain't the Dudleys.
But
The Gumps.
They could be the Crisco Brothers.
The
The
chicken
Briscoe
farmers.
brothers.
Just call them the chicken farmers.
You might as well call them two dope boys in a Cadillac. Jesus Christ.
But no, I think
6
that
months.
it's great that they're getting their flowers in Ring of Honor. Doesn't quite make sense to me why they would give it to an active competitor like the Briscoes, but I
They
mean
need
they've
more
been,
teeth. That's why.
huh?
They need more teeth. That's why.
Oh, they should stop knocking them out. Um, and I just lost my train of thought. Having somebody that's actively competitor into your Hall of Fame doesn't quite make sense to me, but they've been there since day one, so that does make sense to me. What say you guys?
I don't see the point of Ring of Honor having a Hall of Fame to begin with.
Pretty much.
Wow. Alright.
It's like that time when Kurt Angle got inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame
Yeah.
and he was still wrestling, and you're like, why? What for?
It's the
That's
same thing
a
with
whole
AJ.
that's a whole other subject for a whole other time. Oh, maybe we'll do a watch along of that. That'd be interesting.
Which one?
The Bound for Glory one.
San Diego?
Yeah, the match between Angle and Rude.
Jesus, I was at that show.
I don't know.
God damn it, how many shows you been to where it's like, God damn it.
And the last bit of news. Ric Flair announced that him and Wendy will be separating.
Beefy. Oh God, I learned that from I learned that from Medusa.
Really?
Yes, I am ever increasing my presence on Twitch, and I'm getting in at the ground level with superstars and legends alike that are just starting to come to
Still
the
to be?
platform now. So I get in on the ground floor. Boom! I'm one of the I'm one of the deuces, and there's also the fact that there's a good chance I might have named Medusa's book. We'll get into that in a later date. That Ric Flair and Wendy. For those who don't know, Wendy was the maid Fifi in 1993 when Ric Flair came back to WCW and was doing Flair for the Gold segments. Basically WCW's version of Piper's Pit. And Fifi had this French maid's outfit and everything, and then she would accompany Rick once he could wrestle again. That is in WCW, and then back he would she would become an integral factor in the Flair Rick Rude feud in '93 over the NWA Championship, the WCW International Championship, technically.
They just spoke up. She didn't die.
I know, but there's a interesting story because technically they didn't get together until like years later.
Oh yeah. But I mean, Ric Flair with an old divorce. Are we shocked?
No, because Ric Flair is a player for life.
Are we taking over under bets on if he'll become the 16-time divorced nature boy?
Well, what, this is wife 5, so unless he just gets a bunch of marriages in the next however many years he got,
I got thought it was 7.
It's 7?
I think it was. I think this was actually 35, but who's counting?
We're counting marriages, not children, Scooter.
I'm just surprised he doesn't have Genghis Khan level type of kids running around.
We all have Ric Flair DNA in us.
Ric Flair's DNA from Japan to New York,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's saying something considering I've got Genghis Khan DNA in me.
Alright, that will conclude our news for now. Now a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.